right, welcome to Your Time, Your Money, the show where your time is just as valuable as your money, and we know that. One of our few sessions where we have all four of us in.
It's kind of hot in here. It's getting warm. It's getting warm in here. A lot of heat coming off this guy.
Actually, let's just start out by this is probably going to be the last recorded session in this podcast room.
Yeah. The upgrade is coming.
Yeah, upgrade's coming. We have a couple episodes coming out before this one, or after this one, from this station, but this is the last recorded one. And then we can't wait to get into our new podcast room, new digs.
New and improved.
Got some furniture that I can't break. I'm excited.
Yeah, excited. So what better topic today than to talk about Jean Tariff.
Jean Tariff. Wait a minute.
Jean Tariff.
Jean-Claude Tariff.
Yes. You know, a lot of times it's like Chicken Little. People feel the sky is falling, but today we wanted to center around tariffs.
Yeah.
And kind of just put some, I guess you would say, ground some people in the thought to tariffs and what they are and the reaction to the market.
And what to do right now, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to say. In the last 3-4 days, there's been a lot of phone calls, and I think it's a great opportunity for advisors to shine here because good advisors are going to be proactive, calling people rather than trying to take calls. And I feel like that's what we've been doing a lot for the last 3 days. My voice is almost gone because I've been talking so much and just getting ahead of it.
Yeah, right. And the fear around just tariffs in general is just market decline. Right, let's boil it down to one simple thing. The market goes down, and we get corrections occasionally. I just ran numbers. So December 13th, 2022 to June 13th, 2023, a 6-month time frame, S&P went from 4,600 to 3,600, a 20% drop just in that time frame.
Yep.
We're not quite there with the tariff drop. We're approaching there. It depends on
in 3 days, right?
Depends on the hour or the minute.
Right.
But, tariff and taxes are synonymous, right? Essentially it's an increased cost of goods. There's an increased cost to people that are paying for those goods. And it's important people understand why we use tariffs, what tariffs are for. So,
yeah, I think if you were to throw out the number of 287% on a tariff, people would be like, oh my goodness. But they don't realize that there are goods that Americans get charged
already. Currently.
287%.
Correct.
Going to other countries for those goods that are exported to their countries. Mm-hmm. Right? And so it's not a new thing. Actually prior to, I think it was 1860, there wasn't income tax at all.
Correct. It was just tariffs.
The entire nation was funded off of tariffs. So it's not something that's new. It's new for the younger generation, I think you would say.
Yeah.
Right? And well, not even that, right? Because I don't even think the Depression generation really understood tariffs, leading up to the Depression. But, I think most of that Depression generation has passed. Mm. We still have people in their 90s and what have you. But baby boomers and beyond have not really been exposed to tariffs per se in the magnitude that we've been force-fed by media right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the media, here's the thing. Let's really whittle this down. The media latches on to stuff, and it becomes front and center. Right? For the last year and a half, what did we hear nonstop? Inflation. Constantly. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Inflation got old, so what did they switch to? Now it's tariffs.
Yeah.
Right?
Change.
It's just this...
The environment's changing and evolving.
The latching on and then the fear-mongering that happens inside of that, it's clickbait for a lot of people. So that's why we wanted to kind of unwind what this really is.
Yeah, and this is why investors either extremely increase their portfolio or make the wrong decision and destroy their portfolio.
Right.
At these
the wrong emotional decision.
It's all about, and what I really feel it boils down to is the two main things is fear and greed.
Correct.
When people get fearful, they make emotional decisions, and then when people get greedy, they make emotional decisions on the same side. So, you can either really, really mess things up by being, not informed or not having somebody that can help handhold you through difficult times, or you can be on the other side of things is, greedy when you probably should maybe be the opposite.
Well, I think if you look at the type of advisors that we are, and this is why I love you guys, is that if you took all of our phones for the last 6 days and added up all the calls that we put out, I bet you were over 2,000 calls out in the last 6 days. Just because this is the time when you should be adding and dollar cost averaging into the market as the market declines. Right?
Yeah.
Because if you're in it for the long term, if you're a stock investor, if you're an equity investor, then you're looking for these opportunities. Just like Oh, by the way, hey, what's your favorite place to shop, Adam? Where do you love to go?
Yeah, well, name one. I
Right?
don't know. Yeah.
Dick's Sporting Good?
Dick's Sporting
Right?
Good,
Love
sure.
going to Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yep.
Tremendous canoes are on sale. Right? Okay,
Canoes.
let's go. I can't get in a canoe. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit large for canoes. More like a motorboat for one. But if Dick's has canoes on sale for 30% off, you buying one or you buying two?
Sure.
Right? You
Yeah.
buy two of them.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, let's go down the table and let's just briefly give maybe a little synopsis of some thoughts that each of us think about the tariffs.
Sure.
Kind of the reasoning behind it, the pros and cons, so to speak,
Sure.
of tariffs and things that listeners need to know or be conscious about. If you want, Matt, you want to lead us off for a second, and
Yeah.
we'll go right down the.
Oh, I'll start with the pros of tariffs are that they create conversation and negotiation, right? They bring people to the table, and I'm hoping that the reciprocal back and forth goes away, and it opens up a real conversation to the world, and the world economy becomes more balanced. Obviously, the cons, short term, is pain because people are worried about prices, which they're already concerned about, and my hope is that world leaders, kind of get on the same page and are thoughtful about their economy, which people are going to be self-motivated to do the right thing for themselves. So I'm hoping the conversation opens up and people start making rational decisions.
Well, that's the tough part is the rational decision component,
the hard
right?
part.
As you said, emotion gets in the way so often when we are just in general, right, in life, right? Whether you're at a stoplight and light turns green and somebody runs a red light, you get all worked up in that emotion that carries into other things, and that's one of the things that we've obviously been seeing, and the communication component of why the tariffs and the understanding that people need to have that ultimately it is a way to build a stronger economy at the time right now where obviously where the fear is coming in and that emotional mix has people doing things like trying to sell off or get out of the market. And this is what we were saying, the market's on sale right now. It's a good time to get in. You don't want to, everybody gets scared when that, but the old adage is true, buy low, sell high, right? Like, when the timing is, we can't time the market, but at the same time, when we see these
Opportunities.
Right? And the fluctuations that happen, it is a good time. If you've got extra money, it's time to get in.
Yeah, and I think along the lines of trade negotiation, I think it's also, as you're looking to rebuild the American manufacturing base, which is, ultimately the goal behind it, is that's a lengthy process. It doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. Apple, I think, announced $500 billion or whatever, coming back to establish, I think, in like 6 different states manufacturing. Well, the ground isn't even broken. The buildings aren't.
That's not
even
going to happen
built.
for 5 years.
Right at that point.
Yep.
But I think that the other pro to it is if you look at our national debt, right? We're $36 trillion in debt. Everybody's kicking the can. Both political sides are kicking the can down the road.
Absolutely.
Something needs to happen.
Well, that debt's broken into 3 pieces, though, right?
Yeah, and either the American taxpayer is going to pay for 100% of the debt, Republican, Democrat,
doesn't matter.
Poor,
We're
wealthy,
paying
doesn't
for it.
matter.
Yep.
Or the American taxpayer is going to pay for the debt with part of it being alleviated by tariffs from other countries, right? So you have a pro of being able to hopefully, and this is a big hope, with reduced spending, right? It is being
Tax cuts.
able to start the clock maybe ticking backwards. How ideal would it be for the national debt clock to actually turn back
Go the
$1,
other way, right? Go the other way.
Right? Now, I'm not saying that tariffs aren't the only way to do that, because you have to be careful, because tariffs without deregulation and without spending cuts can be a dangerous thing.
Absolutely.
But where in the context of where we are today, the positive outweighs the negative. And to your point, from a buying opportunity, it literally is one of the most beneficial time to dump money in.
It's a time machine. That's what it is.
Right.
You look at last time. When's the last time the Dow was here?
Yeah.
You go back in time. It's almost 2 years ago.
Yep.
It's a time machine.
I mean, and I joke around with clients. I have a little thing. I say, hey, take your kids, turn them upside down, shake them till change comes out.
Give me all that bubble gum.
For those older people, check your ashtrays, right? Because the ashtrays always had coins in it. But look for money to invest, because it's a great buying opportunity.
Yeah, I think a lot of what this administration is trying to do is they're trying to bring, like you were talking about, manufacturing and production back to American soil. Part of what tariffs do is to create opportunities for companies that have been doing it outside of the United States to bring some of that into the United States.
Yep.
As an example, Audi has been talking about basically their plant in Chattanooga increasing production of their vehicles
Built here, right?
Right. So what that allows maybe an opportunity for some job growth. Right. It is going to affect prices of goods. I mean, there's no way around that.
Tariffs and taxes are very similar.
It's just it's what happens. But the idea behind what I believe this administration is trying to do at this point in time is not only create an inflow of money from the tariff, but also create opportunity for job growth within the United States.
One thing we always talk about with clients is, sometimes I try not to go to either side of the political rail. I don't really care. I try to disseminate the information and then be able to identify where that's going to lead us, right? I don't really care about politics. I can't affect politics. I can only affect the people that I help, right? So that being the case, if you look at the big picture, the micro change right now is that we're experiencing pain. But there's a $7 trillion problem coming up in July when we have to refinance our trade dead, right? Okay, and our trade debt is coming due in July, and right now
it's coming soon on a podcast near you.
Trade debt, yeah. So there's another element of we have to refinance either at 4.5% or 4.75% or 3.25%. Well, 1% on $7 trillion, Mark. Quick math, right? Like that's significant.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's things, and I think Adam alluded to it. There's things that we don't see, that we can't see, because we just don't know enough about it. So,
yeah, our trade deficit is about $2 trillion. Our budget deficit's about $2 trillion, and what that relates to the American taxpayer is per taxpayer, that's a little over $300,000 per taxpayer, about $107,000 per citizen. Wow. Right, there's no way out of that unless things drastically change or we try new things. But that being said, also not to be political, is the last time we had a balanced budget was under the Clinton administration.
Correct.
Yeah.
So both sides have the ability and desire and wording to fix it. It's just how can we work together, or at least have those concepts together where we have a balanced budget, we have positive net income coming in, and we can start reducing the deficit, right? And nobody wants to cut programs or social spending, but the first thing we tell clients in their own budget,
right, when you're starting to struggle,
spending,
cut
you got to cut something, right?
Correct.
Cut the things you don't need.
It's not go out and spend more. Right?
One thing I love Warren Buffett says. He says if we end our sitting member of Congress ends their term in a budget deficit, they can't run again. And I bet you we'll never be in a budget deficit if that were the rule, right? I'm telling you right now, I love that comment from Warren Buffett because it's an accurate one. Because if you have the opportunity to spend somebody else's money, you will. But if it affects you, you'll figure it out real quick.
Yeah, and I think as time goes on with the tariffs that are out there, obviously, I think I heard somewhere that at least 50 countries have reached out to negotiate.
Correct.
Already. Correct.
To either go to zero or a reciprocal lower tariff.
Let's lower it a little bit, yeah.
Now, whether that really relates to anything, because if Shangri-La is one of those countries versus China, right, it may not move the needle a lot.
With the penguins.
But the fact that there are those negotiations going on behind the scenes is only positive, which means that window of opportunity to invest is very narrow at some point, too.
Well, I mean, earlier today, there was a conversation of a 90-day delay. Market went up 4%. Right,
from being down
4%.
Yeah,
that's an 8% swing,
and we're talking an hour.
In an hour,
You know what I mean? So the main point, right? We want listeners to get out is obviously we've been through economic turmoil in the past. I just gave an example of 2022 to 2023, COVID, 2008, 2009, 2001 with September 11th, the dot-com bubble.
Yep.
And every time we get clients that say, well, it's different this time. Well, I got news for you. It's always different.
Last time, yeah.
It's always different. Because if it was the same, we could avoid it.
Yep.
Right?
If we could see COVID coming, we could not get
But
it.
what
Right?
isn't different is that the Dow Jones or the S&P has 1,000 batting average in returning higher than it was.
Correct.
Yep.
Right?
Over time.
Yep.
Right? I can give a prediction of when it'll get to 42 or 44 or 48 on the Dow. I just won't tell you the time.
Right. I don't know. It's going to get to 50,
and I'll be accurate.
It's going to get to 50,000. I just don't know when.
Right? That's a safe over-under bet.
That's a really good point that you're bringing up, Mark, is that obviously when we look at the market over a period of time, and we were joking around because we were actually just listening to something before we came on that was talking about market changes and fluctuations.
Right.
And it's going to happen. It has happened. It will continue to happen.
Correct.
And what you have to know is that those, like we were talking about, great buying opportunities, but it's also an opportunity to be able to revisit your portfolio and think, am I in the right place? Right? Do I have the right advisor that's helping me? And am I using the right strategy? Because you may go through a situation like this and realize, you know what, I'm not cut out for these market fluctuations.
Right.
And at that point in time, at that point in time, then you speak to hopefully us, but you give us a call and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about doing something a little bit different.
Right.
It also speaks to something you said earlier this morning as well, is if we've done our jobs right, we're diversifying portfolios enough
Correct.
so that these types of fluctuations are things that you can live through. You can live through because the plan's in place.
Correct.
Buffered investments, guaranteed investments, income investments.
Right.
Index annuities. Right?
100%.
There's a lot of opportunities out there.
Yep.
The one thing I wanted to mention as well is, obviously everybody's concerned about prices going up, and just fundamental law of economics, supply and demand, right? If the demand is not there because the supply is plentiful, then prices are going to go down. And you have to understand it's vice versa. But this also boils down to when we're budgeting our money in our households, what is a necessity? What is not a necessity? What is the right time to buy things? Whatever those things are, whether it's a car or a patio, you know what I mean? What is the right timing of things? It's just a matter of being aware that prices will always fluctuate. Just be aware of that.
Fear and panic is contagious.
Correct.
Right. And even though we have amazing clients that are very well educated, there's always the fear and panic that comes into these times.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation just before we came in here with a client that had money in their 529 plan, and they saw that balance go down about $1,000, which for them was about 2.5% of their portfolio. But looking into the Morningstar analytics of that portfolio, because it's an age-based portfolio, 25% of that entire portfolio is sitting in cash right now. Mm-hmm. So her concern was, I need $6,000 come September. Well, there's $13,000 sitting in cash, and most people have a cash part of their portfolio that if they needed money tomorrow,
we could get it.
We could get it for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If they wanted to go on vacation, they don't have to not go on vacation because the market dropped, because we've built in those protections within portfolios. And most advisors do. There's a percentage in cash, usually 2 to 3%. There's usually a percentage in bonds, right? And bonds aren't down today that I know of. But there's always that protection built in there. So really understanding your portfolio, talking with your advisor. And if you have fears, I would more than be comfortable saying, hey, reach out to Iron Tree Financial. Absolutely. Because we're here to walk you through the things that we would do with our own money and our own portfolio at this period of time to make money. Mm-hmm. Right? Any other last minute thoughts on tariffs in general?
I think that was a great episode. I'm excited. This was the champagne is moving around the room, Mark, and we're ready to go to our new studio.
Yeah, keep in mind we have in the next couple of weeks we have some exciting news being rolled out for some charity events that we're going to be doing, which I think are phenomenal, as well as the new podcast digs. Kudos to Sam behind the camera, who's been phenomenal at helping us orchestrate that into the new room. And as always, if you want Iron Tree Financial to check out your risk tolerance, your portfolio, or give you some suggestions as far as what we would do to make money, reach out to us at Iron Tree Financial at saterais.com. You can reach us at 844-444-YTYM. Be aware we're on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Like, subscribe, look for all our different things that we push out from an educational standpoint. And as always,
It's your
Time.
your
Money.
There you go. Nice.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Your Time, Your Money. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to share this with friends, family, coworkers, anyone else that you think might be interested. If you do have questions or topics, you can always email them to irontreefinancial@ceterais.com. Please follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Spotify, Google Play, and many other sources that were available. And you can reach us at 844-444-YTYM. And as always, it's your time and your money. Cetera Investors is the marketing name of Cetera Investment Services. Securities and insurance products are offered through Cetera Investment Services, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Cetera Investment Advisors, LLC. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity.